Welcome to Energy Stew. This is Peter Roth, your host. And I'd like to ask you, how updated are you about the ascension process? We keep hearing about it, and it's almost like, will it ever happen? And what's up about that? And so, to help us get more into the mechanism and the understanding and perhaps even some timing about it, is a man who's been on my show quite a number of times over many, many years. And I label him as a as an invocator. He is a master invocator, and I think you'll get to see a little bit of what that means. So, Stephen Popiotek, welcome back to Energy Stew. I'm so happy to have you
So glad to be
visit.
back, Peter. Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say also known as urban wizard slash shaman.
I
Exactly.
love that. Yep,
Yeah,
yep. You
yeah.
are certainly a shaman and a wizard, and it's wonderful experience you at work and to see where your intuition takes you, where
Mm,
your
mm, mm.
your knowledge, because you have a channel into the multiverse or into multidimensional universe that is very unique, very specific to the purpose to your job in this life.
Mm, mm.
and and you know things and understand things and support and help people with things that are that most people don't even know about.
Yeah.
Even people who are highly spiritual don't know a fraction of the stuff that you can reach into and work with.
Thank you. It's also why some of my friends years ago used to call me Doctor Strange before the movie came out.
Yeah, well, yeah, I
Even
mean,
Strange
that's,
too.
I know, but I think you're also talking an energy stew to the right audience about it.
Yes, 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 yes. Absolutely. No, and that's definitely an important question and a wide arc question that you're posing that's been shifting and moving up and down throughout many years of our discussion of many different groups and channelers and people talking about the ascension and ascension symptoms and things that are going on to support it, things that are going on to try to block it, challenges. There's a lot of layers to that, right?
Right.
Like, but this is a very important time to kind of even start that discussion in a deeper kind of dive in terms of our timing, in terms of us being in the beginning of 2025. 2025 is an important pivotal year to kind of get the momentum going for that energy. Many years ago, I think I was so many times I can't remember what year we started. I've been talking about 2025 a lot at the New Life Expos over many years, saying that 2025 was a pivotal year between 2025, 2030 is like a major time period for a lot of changes and a lot of potential manifestations of some really amazing stuff and some challenging situations that can also find resolution, right? Um, and when I first brought that topic up to Sean David Morton, who, bless his soul, just recently passed away, um, during the expo times, he had said, "Oh yeah, that because I was talking about how there was a connection for 2012 and 13-year time period from 2012 end of the Mayan calendar, 2025 was going to mark a real point at which the energy rises." And he at first told me, "Well, yeah, that's like part of the 13-year period of the underworld in the Mayan calendar." Uh, Before that kind of resurrection out of the collective underworld occurs. And I said, well, that makes sense from what I've been seeing. Um,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, on many scales,
Right.
right? Uh, Many scales, and even starting back then during 2012, when my guides first said that, really the end of my calendar back then was the way they phrased it. They said it was like an opening. It was like a singularity that was opening in the body of time, where a wave of love from the creator realms was going into the earth back in time, and that this 13-year period was part of that duration in which that return wave kind of think of like a springboard where you compress a spring and then the board jumps up or you get that bounce effect or like the Kundalini rising. But it's like first we're going deep into our cellular memories to heal our past. And so this wave of divine love has been going back through time to help in some deeper healing course corrections. And then as it comes back, that springboard effect is opening up like a fountain starting later this year. Now, but also it's not hasn't been a smooth process. There's been a lot of negative groups, negative extraterrestrials, negative humans, and various defense contractors that have been working with them that are been trying to do the opposite, right? They've been trying to rewrite it in their image, revisionist history for the conquerors, right? Instead of love. So part of the challenge is that it's been about trying to heal this distortion of these timeline wars that have gone on so that we can really ride that new wave of Gaia's love that is coming out from her core and use it as a springboard for part of the real big waves of ascension that are going to be starting in the spring this year and then increasing as we go towards 2030, 2031, especially. So that's kind of like how I like to frame it first because we're going to do a little deeper dive and looking at that. And that this I do a lot of good work, not just remotely, but also have traveled different places or groups and or myself as well doing journeys, right, different locations. So when I was out in the Caribbean in St. Martin last summer, my third time out there doing some having fun as well as doing grid work. I like to do both, right? You have to nurture yourself for the new energies and then do the work. But in St. Martin, which a lot of people don't may not realize that it's obviously a lot of people do know about the fact that so much of the Caribbean is was part of Atlantis, the ancient continent, and have the different Atlantean temples that are in pyramids that have been off the coasts of different islands. Stuff that was found, off Cuba, that was originally National Geographic was supposed to do a documentary about it many years ago, and then they shelved it. And one of the scientists did their own version of it with like Mexican TV many years ago, and they were showing the pyramids and different temple ruins and the radar that's like off the coast there. That's just one example, but it's not to go into a divergent stream. But the idea is that these ancient power sites are being used and have been used by various groups since that point on both light and dark side to kind of either help consciousness or manipulate consciousness. So when I was in St. Martin, I had to clear up some negative grids that were trying to block an Atlantean vortex that's over there. That there was an ancient temple to the moon goddess Selene that I had energetically tapped into that was in St. Martin. And also for the viewers, what I had seen throughout this period also is that in a certain period of Atlantis, that's really where original Greek gods came from, so to speak, or really extraterrestrial from different star civilizations. But the Greeks kind of inherited the watered down version of the mythos. But in part of Atlantis, they had the real Mount Olympus, which is the tallest mountain in Atlantis, that had amazing temples and was connected to other locations around the continent and other colonies on other islands that surrounded Atlantis and some further away. So Caribbean has a lot of this kind of residue remains of some of these portions of that Atlantean Olympian heritage, which has a direct connection to our galactic allies, and so there's this temple of Selene, the moon goddess there, and I was really powerful. I felt her energy. I was like, wow, this is beautiful. Um, but there was also these two dragon spirits that came to me, like giant dragon spirits that were guardians of this one of the crystal vortexes there on one of the mountains, and they were calling themselves Atlantean Starheart dragons, and that they were a male and female dragon spirit that were they're positive, not the negative dragons, positive dragon spirits that were guardians of two ancient crystal vortexes that are on St. Martin. One of them I know exactly where, the other one is I have to work on it more still. Um, and so I would so there's a whole long story around it because they were trapped first. There was some darker groups that were on St. Bart's nearby island, where it's kind of like Epstein Island too there. You have a lot of like global elite energies and very wealthy people there, and some of them are obviously not so good. So there were things done to try to suppress these guardian spirits from properly managing the light grid that's supposed to be there, and because the dark groups wanted to circumvent it, suppress it, distort it, there's
Wow.
so bit of a grid war thing that I've seen going on and off for different years. So that's a whole other side story. But um the so these when I went back the third time, I was going up the mountain again and tapping into the energy there. But this time the dragon spirits were like much deeper inside the earth. I was saying, what's going on? I'm not feeling it up here in the normal part of the mountain. But there was a lot more of them. I'm saying, okay, what's going on here? Huge gathering in the mantle beneath the area. I was like, oh, who's calling the party down there? And they were saying, well, this is happening at like 12 locations globally as part of preparation for the ascension waves that are going to be coming up.
And
Uh,
there are dragons at all these locations?
yeah, these are like sacred dragon vortex guardians, and they're coming in not just from the earth, but there's a part of a transfer of positive nature spirit energies from positive ascended worlds that are coming to help the earth. So it's like almost like an ecosystem sharing on a light way where they want to
Mhm.
help upgrade our local dragon spirits that are positive to be the co-manifestors and guardians of these new ascension waves.
I love that.
Yeah, so yeah, it's a real beautiful like upgrading the stewards,
Yes,
Sense and because the negative groups were doing something opposite. They brought some darker dragon energies, a negative serpent ET group and reptilian groups, and that's a whole longer story. But so there has been this tit for tat, about which side. So these are the good ones, and then they were showing me that uh there was energy coming from the core of the Earth through these higher like solar phoenix and galactic phoenix guardian spirits and beings that had that form that were going to help kind of kickstart Gaia's inner core, which is not just iron and crystalline, but there's a deeper plasma fusion energy that is taking place in Gaia's core, her real inner
sure.
sun, and so to speak.
Potential.
So yeah, so that exactly. So that light, that actual plasma energy is upgrading itself to go into the heart chakra vibration more. So it's like literally, going from yellow to green. But that kind of plasma quantum leap in Gaia's heart chakra
I
is
love that.
also is
That's
also
beautiful, and
right.
we
Yeah.
need that.
Yes,
The whole
yes.
planet needs it.
Exactly, exactly. So they're saying that energy is going to be shooting out from Gaia's core. Kind of reminds me of like those glass plasma balls, with the little ball in the middle that shoots out the little electric arcs. And you move your fingers over it, the old school
Oh yeah,
used to
right.
have, But except the core of Gaia is like trying to like kindle the pathways from her depths all the way up to the surface, so then the bigger currents can come up. And it's kind of come up like spirals, like a vortex stream pulsing upward. And so they showed me that the guardian that the phoenixes were relaying it, and then the dragons would help be the guardians of its final emission, out through the crust and stuff from the mantle up to the surface to help steward that flow.
Uh-huh.
And then they said that there were 7 locations globally first where these phoenixes were really gathering to shoot the energy out. That was going to happen first, starting in the spring. Specifically, what I've been tapping into now, because I also had just literally the other day they were showing me a quick other update of it. I started feeling it. Like I was that where there's a wave of in time coming, wave from the future, from April coming to the now, and it's like the precursor because the bigger waves are going to start early May, early to mid May, and then in the fall some of these dragon locations, like the one in St. Martin, are going to get kickstarted. So I'm going to organize a group for the St. Martin activation probably in mid-October, and then we'll be, organizing something like that. So one of the 7 locations of the Phoenix is actually in the Philippines. So I went out there this past fall to kind of check out certain locations and map it out better. And I'm going back over there to spend longer time period there. And then I'll also be organizing a smaller group there in early May. I'm not really doing a retreat about it, but I'm inviting certain people or people want who an audience if anybody's interested and going to be in Asia. Hey, you want to come there and enjoy some good food and good beach time and do some powerful grid work. Have a
Good,
couple,
good for you.
a little more aspect of it, not just hardcore all day working. It's like, it's a balance,
Right.
That's at this stage. But it's going to be quite potent. And so when I was out there last time doing some initial grid work at one of the locations called Chocolate Hills, which is a funny name, but if people Google Chocolate Hills, maybe I should even show me a picture later in a podcast when you edit it, right? It's like there's like 1,700 mounds that are spread on this one island called Bo Bohol, Bohol there. And of course, the cover stories, oh, it's natural. Like, yeah, 1,700 perfectly symmetrical mounds on one island that would pop out of nowhere between 90 feet to 300 feet tall yeah, that's natural, right? It's definitely not, yeah. Especially since they found pyramids in Indonesia, right? Which is, not that far away from there too. Some of the oldest ones from like Lemuria. So there's all this Lemurian energy that's also
Wow,
in there.
that's old.
So it's like Lemurian balancing out the Atlantean, right? So it's also interesting to see this kind of reactivation. Um, so there, when I so the 19 Star Dragon Guardians, they had said that. Well, anyway, they said that they're pairing up with the Phoenix energy, so it's kind of like a higher Tao aspect, where it's like a Phoenix and Dragon in a good way working together to create this more of an openness for unity and love energy. Um, and So there are several locations where that Phoenix energies are popping up. Um, I know 6 of the locations right now. The seventh one, they were saying will be revealed to me as we get closer, but it's like operational security because right now even 5 of the other locations that I'll mention there's already certain negative activity going on by darker groups that are trying to take advantage of that before it opens, and they're already trying to put down different negative structures and negative technologies to try to block, invert, dam her flow from properly going, which is not good at all. Like you need to call in extra support from Team
Yeah,
Galactic Light to be like, no, we
We
don't consent to any idiots blocking Gaia's Kundalini ascension waves or trying to invert it or distort it.
right, but we can expect at this time that there'll be some resistance to it.
This is the point, though, of course. So it's being aware, and it's important because a lot of light workers in the new age, well, a certain number of new age community over the years has always been, to me, very bifurcated when it comes to these topics, where they either go one extreme or the other, or they've only talked about ascension as if it's only going to, without looking at the shadow and understanding the resistance, like we said, like needs to be dealt with so we can really have a more graceful, cleansing and transmuting. It's like some people talk about ascension symptoms as if they're only as if they're cast in stone as being ascension symptoms, when sometimes some of those symptoms are actually more like the blockages that are being sent to light workers to try to block our ascension and not are not always representational of the natural process of what ascension looks like. So that's something to
This
get our
this
heads
is
out of
why
the
we need
sand.
you. This is why we need you to help us figure out how to get through this.
So I'm like, no, you're describing direct energy weapon attacks going on. You're thinking that's ascension. Like, no, this is them trying to stop you from opening up your space. And it's one thing to go through pains and cellular shifts with the Kundalini and purging and, journey through the dark night of the soul. That's all natural. But when there's extra things amplifying that, you may want to look into be like, all right, let's call some extra angelic assistance and galactic teams to help clear the way so that, we're not so laden down with all the heavy metals from the chemtrails and from other things that have gone on in recent years to try to toxify people's bodies, because all that's been done to try to weigh us down so we don't properly ascend, or that's what there's a limitation of the ascension, or at least from their viewpoint, they're trying to delay it, block people's ability to properly calibrate to the new magnetics of Gaia's shifting magnetic field, which is also part of that. That's been happening very, very more quickly, where the North Pole has been moving a lot. And they did that recent update of the Earth's magnetic report, that study that they release every, I think, 5 years, for a long time was moving, very slow. Then, since I forgot how many decades ago, it started moving much faster. Like first it was a couple miles a year, then it's been like 20, 35, 50 miles per year. So it's moving very quickly on the North magnetic pole, which affects everything, our weather, our ecosystem,
Sure.
our consciousness. We're all plugged into that,
Big
right? So there's a lot of physiological mirroring going on where things are shifting, and changes on the sun, our giant gas cloud, a local bubble that our solar system is immersed in, that we're going deeper into. That's part of our kind of cosmic love cocoon. That's also getting catalyzing the magnetic fields of our planets. So there's a lot of things happening that's part of that alignment of the Earth on a higher spiritual level. But the cosmic sun is also something that's been also coming in more lately, where there's an arc of light of different planets that are in that like ladder of lights that link up to the cosmic central sun that wants to be more revealed as we go into the heart vibration higher. We become more perceptible to that influx. So there's a lot of beautiful things that are trying to line up. Of course, then with the group work I do, not just individual sessions, but the group work I do usually during new moon, full moons. The past couple of years, it's also turned into more of a warrior type work, where we have to like work on deconstructing a negative extraterrestrial grid that's sometimes working in tandem with different defense contractors that are involved in it, and calling the good teams to be, we're kind of like seeing ourselves as like the cosmic crew of like Gaia's like her sentinel knights and her castle doors, to like basically help open up the right doors so that our Star Nation friends can come in as like the team troop backup, to help kick out the negative occupiers,
Right.
and be like, we need to help
Yeah, we
clean
need
house
that.
here,
Yeah.
you know. So we've had to do this, and it's been like a pain in the butt. So it's because like, oh my God, like what's the next dark thing right now? But it's to understand that there's been so many things trying to encapsulate our consciousness that if people knew 1/10 of it, they would be kind of freaking out more. But it's not about giving fear to it. It's about understanding what we're dealing with so we can work through it and transmute it and not just put our head in the sand.
Right.
And it's knowing your place, in terms of your vibration, if you want to participate in that type of work. Because then there's beautiful energies that come in to replace it from our positive, from the Andromedans, Arcturians, Pleiadians. Different groups are coming in to lay down new grids. And that's a good segue, because this just came up literally the past few weeks, where some of the beings from Saturn are also so the Andromedans and beings from Saturn are two of the most proactive groups that are coming in to help, that I've been seeing for the past few years, to really the Arcturians and Pleiadians come in as well, and other groups, but the Andromedans are coming in every time we do group work. They're the first ones that come in to want to help intervene and kick out the negative groups. Even getting to the point where they're starting to arrest some of the negative ETs on certain bases. That we've just started seeing that happen. I was like,
Wow.
oh, that's good. We need to get more of that going,
Yeah, oh my God.
uh, and anyway, so there's So there's a positive grid coming in from higher councils of Saturn, higher because Saturn is like our local, like the Law of One books talk about it, which I agree. It's like our local confederation of planets, UN headquarters, to put it that way, where there's
Uh-huh.
representatives from many different star systems that gather on Saturn, and they deal a lot with the evolutionary templates of our solar system and stewards of the Earth as
How
well.
about Venus? Isn't there good support from Venus?
Definitely, well, there's definitely positive, energies in terms of evolutionary higher dimensional beings that have been on Venus. Um, they have a different kind of feel and flavor, and they definitely each of our planets in our solar system has interesting groups on it that want to help, and they have a certain timing of when they are going to kind of come in more and introduce more of
Right. Certain
their support.
ability. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's other even more galactic groups. Certain ones are waiting for a lot of them are waiting for this signal from Gaia's first ascension wave turning on. It's like the first
Wow.
ignition of the spark plug. They're really a lot of them are waiting for that to really come in a much stronger demonstrative way
Oh
to
my
start
gosh,
cleaning
this is
house.
so beautiful to
So
hear all this.
it's yeah, it's a really interesting hmm, time period that that we're kind of pushing through, especially with all the craziness that's been going on.
Yeah.
But again, as above, so below, you're going to see, it's like cleaning out the dust and the turmoil so we can get through the light of the sun can come through the dark clouds and that's why we have to be vigilant to be like, all right, how do we hold space for that new love energy and center and ground with nature? And what does Gaia also need to help her to stabilize? Because part of this energy is, it's very tantric as well. It's love energy, but it's Gaia's full spectrum Kundalini that's rising. So that energy I started sensing the other day coming from April retroactively in time, it's like part of Gaia's like foreplay energy before her orgasmic light comes up in May. So it's like the kindling that occurs before lightning strikes the ground. Part of the air has to overcome resistance to the electrical flow. So there's a thin stream of ions or electrically charged pathway that's formed before the lightning bolt can fully come down.
Sounds
So
so
it's
promising.
so it's a similar idea where this energy is kind of like rising up, like her beautiful sensual light love energy is coming up from the core and wants to it's also coming up as like a beautiful cornucopia symbol, like her vortex, where it's like Gaia wants to show that cornucopia of all these new possibilities, how we can create and envision the world with her new level of support that she wants to make available to us. If we let ourselves think outside the box and break out of that matrix of control, that's been trying to limit everybody. And it's like, no, this is what we're stewards to hold space for the new future. These idiots are the dark past that we're letting go of, and then making sure that they have the
So
exit.
how do we manage ourselves in the meantime?
Right? I know this is the one reason why I do the group work as well as individual work because I mean a lot of every client for the past couple of years has come in with negative cords and implants to different negativity groups and smaller percentage that are more on the getting harassed by different defense contractors and other subsidiaries of them as well. Because so many of these groups that happened a couple of years ago, a lot of the governments made deals with negative ET groups to try to give them more permission to manipulate our history, manipulate our timeline, and commodify people. So from that point, that's when I started seeing many more people showing up with these side effects of different pains in the body, feeling drained, cut off because of these constructs they've been putting in their field. And many of them didn't know what was going on at first. And then, well, I mean, this is why being accountable for your own energetic ecosystem is crucial right now, right? Being accountable to know, like, what is your normal feelings? What is your mental state? What is not? Like, knowing what is your normal process and what is maybe something interfering with it so that you can delineate and create more shielding and know that you should ask for extra support or reinforcement, from the angels, from your galactic teams, going out more in nature, doing more sun meditations, getting back into a healthier relationship, right, with the body, mind, heart alignment is even more essential.
Right.
So there's many different techniques and things you can do, but sometimes it gets tricky because some of these, I'm constantly discovering new tech toys that these idiots are trying to exploit and test on people. Every so often I have to kind of develop counter remedies to and understand it. So it's sometimes tough to do it only alone, especially if you're going through processes that are really heavy for you. It's good to kind of find community or
But
people that
very
really.
few people have your skills.
I mean, this is also why I provide the services I do, so we can because I went through such hell to get to that point too, to resurrect my own self and going through my own dramas and harassments over the years. And so, I mean, I learned the hard way as well, as well as learning from people and seeing what they're going through,
Yeah.
and have my own, wizard lineage on a galactic level and warrior. And part of that also is us being as light workers. There's also a subsection of light workers that I work a lot with that come up that are like I call like who've had infiltration lifetimes, where these are because we always hear about galactic reincarnation from star people, wanderers, whatever different terms you call it, that have come to planets like Earth to help civilizations evolve. But what you don't always hear about is that there's a group of light workers that are galactic who've been involved a lot in the galactic wars, who've been involved a lot in these dramas, and they took time to volunteer on behalf of certain light councils to have incarnations in certain dark negativity groups that were often
Wow.
the adversary for the light teams.
Wow.
And so that they could try to bring light to that collective, remind those in the dark, hey, you don't have to be an idiot for all of eternity. You can come back to the light, they
That's
can choose
great.
love again, but also to understand their methodology, technology, tactics, because a lot of these wars are being fought through time, not just space. So we have to have agents of the different plaza planets also infiltrating the dark, because the dark certainly does it, tries to do it to lower planets, right? And so I seem to be attracting a lot of clients that are in that category where, say if you were Palladian and Palladians were asking for volunteers to go into the reptilian, and so say someone that had a lifetime as a colonel and lieutenant colonel in the reptilian military. And then so there's a process where we have to, and then they were getting harassed by those groups now, not realizing why they were still getting attacked. So what I've been seeing that there's a trend where all these negative ET groups are trying to target anyone that they spot, any light worker that has any history with them from any time period in the past. They're trying to like arc them into that, or if there's unresolved contracts. So there's a process we do where you kind of go into that part of their psyche and clean out like
And
a room that
and you're
represents
good
that
at
lifetime.
identifying these things and helping people work through.
Yeah, that's become like another specialty of what I
So
kind of.
we're getting near the end of the show. So how can
That's right,
people
time is
reach
flying. Wow,
you?
yeah. That's right, that's right. Oh yeah, so I'll mention quickly too. So, some of the other seven Phoenix points, one's actually in America and Nebraska, and there's a lot of craziness kind of going around there. So we're going to be doing group work also remotely in February, March to try to counter the negative occupation of these other sacred sites so that we can get more love energy in that area, more divine intervention. One is in England, in like northern England.
But
One's in
how can people contact you to hear more about this?
I'm sorry, sure, sure. I mean, they can. I mean, I have my YouTube channel as well, but I'm on Facebook under my name. My website's been down a long time, but I say either Facebook, Instagram. I use less. Facebook, I use more. They can email me. You can put my email address there. It's PSI jumper at gmail.com.
Oh, that's
Um,
easy. Yeah.
yeah, it's easy enough. Yeah. And I mean, I give my number out all the time too to people. So if people want to text me first, I don't mind that, but I'll be traveling. So starting in February. So people that want to contact me past February 5th, do it on WhatsApp with my phone number, which you can even post on there if you want. It's a 347-776-7965, but only on WhatsApp. Text me there or on Facebook
Uh-huh.
Messenger or email because I'll be doing remote work from the Philippines
This is
starting in
great. So
February.
we're really at the end of the show,
Okay.
and I love talking with you. And
Yeah.
it's amazing. You're such an amazing guy. I'm so glad to
Likewise,
know
brother.
you, and I've known you
Likewise.
since you were quite young.
To this day, yes, it's been a while.
Right, right.
Back on your show from many years ago.
Yeah. So, Stephen, thanks so much for being on
Thank
Energy
you.
Too. What a joy it is to talk with you.
Blessings to you, brother. Big hugs to you and everybody in the audience.
Thank you. And this is Peter Roth, your host of Energy Stew at prn.live. I can be reached at Peter at Heart River, HEART River.org. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks so much for listening.